there on Facebook. We are trying something new today for the Horn Hangouts. We're very excited. We're not trying something new because we really wanted to do it today. My website was actually hacked. So it means we couldn't get into the content manager to stream it on the web page, on the live page, which most of you probably went to first. But we have such a special guest today that I thought today is the perfect day to try something new. So everyone's been working together. It's been a truly trans-global thing. Tim and Fivestream have been working in Australia to get the stream set up here with Jakob and George. And we have one of my absolute Horn heroes of all time. Radovan, welcome to the Horn Hangouts.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you, yes.
But this is the amazing thing because you were our very, very first Horn Hangout guest. 2012.
From Australia.
That's
live.
right.
That's right. Yes.
Tim picked you up.
That's
You were performing at the
participating at a brass festival.
Melbourne Brass
yes, that's
Festival
right.
last week.
Yes.
And Tim, my beloved Tim, handsome Tim, he came and said, come on, you're going to be live online.
That's right.
And talking to Sarah.
Yes, I didn't know what it was about, but I looked forward to it, and here we go.
And
you've come such a way.
Yeah, I have to tell you guys, when Radovan came in today, he just looked at the setup here. Our last hangout, you can look it up online, was with a little webcam, and you were sitting in the corner, and there were people warming up
there
around.
There was noise around. That's true. That's true.
And here we have this huge, great big setup, and we have loads of people watching.
But it's been so inspiring. I followed some of your hangouts, and it's been so fantastic. Both, I was saying just earlier, both a perfect balance between entertaining sort of and content and serious, in-depth talk. So I enjoyed it as much as my students and my colleagues, and compliments to you for that. Yes.
Entertaining and serious stuff. So which one would you rather do today?
I'd rather do yes.
We have. I want to see all your questions. I can see. See, this is all new for me. We have something really awful, Radovan. Look.
Okay.
This is us.
All right.
This is So I think it's coming through a little bit delayed, which means your questions are coming through a little bit delayed. Keep them coming, because this is new for us. For me with the and to see my.
All right.
I think I'm going to stick a Horn Hangout sticker over my face, and then I don't have to see it. But I can see people are watching in Berlin, in Hawaii, in Antwerpen, Potsdam, New York, Tampa, Florida, John Mitchell in Manhattan. Good morning, John. Cindy Liu in Taipei. I mean, really.
Hello, Cindy. I do know.
You know Cindy. We all know Cindy's the best. She always shows us the best places to eat. Andre Just is watching.
Wonderful.
Andre, hi. Goodness, studio watch party at the Stephen F. Austin University in Nacogdoches. How do you pronounce that? Nacogdoches in Texas?
I'm not sure.
And Mahir is watching. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Radovan from Dima and Mahir. Really, you guys, isn't this great? You know, there's this feeling of Horn Hangout community. Yeah. That's what I think we started 5 years ago.
That's right. But we were saying, horn players are social beings. We're good in solidarity and like that. We don't fight on our own, so we feel stronger together, and it's more fun.
It's more fun. Why? When I was studying, I was actually quite a lonely student, and I never had that feeling of community. It was more a competition thing. I felt around me that everyone was really involved in being the best and getting the job. I find there's much more support. What do you find with your students? Because
well, I'm thinking back to my own student days, and since I was studying in my hometown of Zagreb in Croatia, then it was Yugoslavia at the time. I also felt, all the action was happening elsewhere. We had only a small horn studio, only a couple of us studying there, so it was, in a way, it was isolated as well. Although we were able to travel and then participate either in competitions or international little meetings, so that was inspiring. But the first sort of horn conferences that I went to when I was maybe 18, which my future teacher, Professor Michael Hölzel, organized in Trossing, and those were really eye-opening and inspiring. He just turned, he had a birthday the other day, and it was so, yes. So it was wonderful to see him. We met by chance in Munich. It was great, but he's in great shape and inspiring as ever.
His Schwiegersohn, how do you say it? And his
yes,
stepson.
that's right.
Paolo is now
that's right.
It's all,
it's all in the family. Yes.
Horn players are really a big family.
Yeah, I think there's something benevolent about it, so we cheer and root for each other.
Well, they're all cheering and rooting. I mean, Jill Williams from Kassel, Christopher Gongos from Canada, Latvia, Manuel Urso, Bogota, Turkey, Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It is truly international, and because I'm privileged to travel a lot, you know, you always feel made, you know, welcome and so on. So I sometimes wonder why it's so complicated in other fields, you know. We'll not talk politics today, but
No politics on the Horn Hangouts.
But no, it would be. They could take some example and inspiration from
Definitely.
musicians and artists in general. So.
There are some. I know someone that is doing some sort of talks for big management people about how musicians are, how an orchestra works and the different functions. I know that there are some sort of business models going on out there.
Yeah.
But
Was it Piatigorsky, the great cellist? He said, you know, traveling in his era was even more complicated. So he would be, led by the police out of the city or into the city because he didn't have a proper visa or something. And in the night he was sort of hailed a hero after the concert, everything. So you go through. But today traveling is so much more, simple. And,
Still.
No.
As they say. How about a first question? Okay, the problem with Facebook, they're coming in fast and furious, which is great. Sylvie from Montreal, but she's watching in Tampa, Florida. She would like to know how you take care of your lips when you practice a lot.
When I practice a lot, what if
do you practice a lot?
Yeah, well, I try. I think I'm going to have to do more as I grow older. But I use some kind of lip chapstick or something like that, especially if it's cold or dry or terribly hot. Otherwise, I do smear it.
I just had something weird happen. We were just in Baden-Baden, and I think about twice a year I feel like an animal shedding its skin on my lips. Always in the autumn, and then in the spring, and it sort of peels off, and it doesn't matter what you put on it. Do you have
if it is very cold, and if there's a lot of heating indoors and things like that, so it's important to drink water and keep hydrated.
Water. This is water, guys. Yes. An abbraccio from Adrian Garcia Cavallo. Pablo in Costa Rica. Michael Emanovsky in Korea is watching. And Emmanuel also asks, how will he get a chance to play for you? Will you come to Italy? And how do you have such a big and beautiful sound? You're too modest to answer these questions.
I don't know when the next time is, but I'm sure we'll come back to Italy. We've just been on tour about a month ago with our wonderful ensemble, the Le Vent Français, the French Wind.
How did you get into a French wind ensemble?
Good question. I think I was approached by Paul Meyer, our clarinetist, and he asked me for recommendations, and I mentioned a couple of colleagues, and somehow we came to a decision. I feel honored, and it's very, it's a lot of fun. And
they're lovely guys.
We just did a recording last week, and we did some Sinfonia Concertante with the Munich Chamber Orchestra. It was wonderful. Some of the pieces were known, like the Mozart one. Some of them were less known, like Danzig, Pleyel, and De Vienne. And it's inspiring because it's so spontaneous how they play, and we're also very good friends. So I learned from them a lot, and we always have fun.
Radovan, I must say, you're one of the most modest horn players I know.
Thank you.
But you have the most incredible sound, and I know it's hard for you to talk about great stuff you do, but please. People have said, they already wrote in the chat before, your sound is like butter. You have a legato to die for. What is it? What makes some people, what makes it unique?
So we talked about short answers and long answers, so give me just a little time. I think I went through different phases, and since I was starting to play the horn, actually I studied in the States when I was very young, but that I don't remember much. I played on a mellophone and so on, so that wasn't a proper horn sound. When I started, later on, I studied with my teacher who had been in France, So I think with his approach, there was actually a French touch to it, influence, because he would play a piston ascending third Selmer horn. You don't see many of those anymore. They've grown out of fashion, but they had a very sort of singing, vibrato, light sound. And that's where I sort of started. Then I came to Germany.
But your sound is so not singing. No. Your sound is not so vibrato and light.
Yes,
It's like the opposite.
But then I came to Germany, and then here in the orchestra in Berlin, where I have so many nice memories, and I met some of my colleagues from. I was told to play espressivo, but cut out the vibrato. So you have to learn something else. And then I was experimenting with different instruments, and then where I came to my Paxman horn. So I think I went from one part of the spectrum to the other extreme, from being very light to very, very dark. And then you just try to you go and listen and be inspired, And
what
then
was your ideal horn sound?
I don't think I had one, a particular one, but you get inspired by great players and by other instruments as well. And I was lucky early on to do chamber music with fantastic musicians who had different approach to that. And of course, as we all know, the human voice being the true inspiration. I've learned a lot from my fellow singers and also from some colleagues. I will mention Tom Krause, the late fantastic Finnish but Swedish-spoken bass baritone. He was a teacher, a fellow teacher in Madrid in the school where I teach at the Scuola Reina Sofia, and he would be so inspiring in how to sing, how to use your true voice, not to color it, not to manipulate it, especially technically not. So I think I've learned so much there.
There's a lot of similarities I found also with larynx and open throat. And
especially if you're a young singer, I think, because I'm not a singer myself, and trying to sound as dark and as big and as rich and as an older singer, I think their organ changes with time, and probably there's something similar with horn playing or brass playing. So it's maybe a little bit tough and demanding to ask a young player to have this full scale fortissimo to the pianissimo when they're already just playing auditions. But I think give yourself time to develop, and I think then you find your true voice, and I think you ride on that and enjoy it in the process.
But I actually asked you, how do you think you got yours? So that it's not just the students, it's also it's this ideal, as you say, the ideal sound through the singers and through the thing. But are there anything, of course, all of us watching are horn nerds. And we're proud to be horn nerds, right, guys? We're proud to be horn nerds. Were there any special exercises you did? I mean, being inspired is fantastic, but is there anything you do every day? Do you find it gets a little bit harder as you get older, or is it?
That changed also with time, but when I was a student, my teacher asked me to do a lot of long sustained notes or slow interval studies, and that's what we did, and that's what I practiced for about an hour every day. So that is no, but I sometimes do show it to my students, so that they know what we've gone through, because it's a certain process. And then I'll tell you what the good thing about it, it was like sound development and control, just in different dynamics and maybe intonation. But the bad sign is that you're not very flexible when you're doing so. That when I learned about other flexibility programs and so on, I wasn't able to do it at all. So striking again the right balance, so many things about right balance in life, then I tried to combine the two. And also I realized later on when I was working in the orchestra, I needed to do a lot of exercises for the low range and so on to compensate, because most of the playing is the high range. That's not the case anymore, because I don't play in the orchestra, so I have to consider also going up in the higher range. And I learn with my students, together with my students. So it's a process. It's ongoing.
It is ongoing, and it does also change, I find, as we get older, and the keeping the throat open, the speed of the tongue.
Yes.
And I remember Norbert Hauptmann, he practiced more when he went to fourth horn and in the last few years of his career than he did before.
Yeah. Also, having worked with fantastic woodwind players, I learned a lot about articulation, how clearly you have to speak. And maybe language comes into play there, speaking different languages and understanding the characteristics of a language, how pronounced, whether it's English, German, Italian, and so on, and my mother tongue, Croatian, so I think that has an influence. But I was lucky to learn English when I was a child, so that's almost...
Do you speak French with your
I do, and my French gets better, yes. When they get fast, then I can't follow, but my French is getting a little better, yes, yeah.
There's a question from Ed Lockwood. You seem to be producing some incredible players. Is your teaching personal to the individual, or do you have some basic themes? I think maybe that would also come under the theme of what you said about a bit of everything.
Yeah. When you come to a fitness studio, then they make a program because you need to work on this or that. So I do try to have that approach, or when you come to a particular school, I want to know about their interests. And of course there are different stages. Some are master students, so they're very advanced, and others are maybe towards the beginning of their studies. So I try to consider that. I make suggestions about repertoire, but they're pretty also clear about what they need. I remember also when I was starting in the orchestra, I realized that I have to be stronger, so I asked a teacher, particularly Ifer James at that time, who I didn't study with, but I did have some lessons, and just to get stronger to be able to play the full symphonic program, because we don't alternate here in Germany, and that was a challenge for me. But I do try to individually treat them. There are some things like we warm up together, so they will probably be familiar with the kind of things, although we try to change that so it doesn't get automatic and routine in the bad sense of the word. So we talk a little bit, but there's conversation, and usually we're not tired after that first hour, and have fun, have a quick cup of tea or coffee or something, and then we go on individually, and then playing with piano, and of course I encourage them to do chamber music, but they respecting their personality and understanding their strength, because we're all different, and I like sports, and it's inspiring to watch sports and learn from coaches, you know, because they know how to encourage them in the best way.
No, absolutely. I think also that students today, they have so much more at their fingertips, so much more information.
Yes.
I mean, I remember when I was doing the rounds of going to see all the teachers and gathering that from, I mean, these days, you know, watch a Horn Hangout, and you've got a lot of stuff.
That's right. That's right.
It's a lot easier, but I find the students today are really, they're lucky.
Yeah.
They have all
and
this
maybe
stuff.
also allowing a lot of influences, you know, listening to different players, different kinds of music, different instruments, all of that comes in.
I'm glad you say that. That's so important that we don't get, we are horn nerds and we're proud of it, but we mustn't get into this little only horn box.
And maybe experimenting, you know, and being inspired by other arts as well. So that's something that I learned also from my wife Dinka. You know, it needs a whole person, a personality, to be a good musician as well. And if our aspiration is to become a true artist, then we have to be inspired by literature, by poetry, by painting. Go and see a museum rather than practice another half an hour, you know, and so on, things like that.
Is that what's given you a lot of inspiration?
I think so, Because, you know, sometimes you mention Italy, and you go to Italy and you see all these churches and amazing works of art, and often you don't even know who the artist is. It's not about the individuality, but it's this amazing art that's all there. So we're just one in a long tradition of artists there, and then it's humbling, maybe, but you aspire to do that, and it's wonderful.
No, totally.
So get inspired, yes.
I'm inspired by all these people who are watching. Barbara Justine Curry, she's second horn in the Met in New York. Good morning, Barbara. And she wrote that you are such an inspiration, and it's great to hear you. Ben Goldscheider is watching, and he wanted to ask, hang on, where was his? Honestly, I've got like this much space for all the questions. Ben, where's your question? You just wrote a question. There it is. He wants to know how you maintain good chops with lots of practice sessions and performance. So I know what he means. Where does the practice, where's the time for the practice?
I think I get to practice more on tour, because sometimes we have a day off or something like that. So, except we're not talking playing, which is rehearsing and performing, but real practice that you can do on a free day. So I think I do that more when I'm away. Sometimes also when teaching, usually at the end of the teaching, towards the end of the day.
You manage that? I find it so exhausting.
It is exhausting. I take a break, and then I try to concentrate on what I have to do.
Don't you find that the more I teach, the worse I get?
I think it's okay to make mistakes while you're teaching, because that's part of it, and it's good to see, you know, we're allowed to make mistakes. It's good. I tell my students that, you know, we're in a protected area, in a laboratory. Explosions happen, and that's okay. So you have the freedom to make mistakes, and you have to get that out of your system, and it's good. We learn from our mistakes, so shouldn't be afraid of it.
I learn from my mistakes here. Sorry, I just stopped the stream on my iPad, but everything's okay with you guys? Everything's going well? I can see you. Look what I get to see. I get to see you twice. I get to see you twice. And George Thackeray just asked, do you learn while teaching? Well, that's already you already answered that. You're answering the questions before they come in. It's a sign of a good thing.
About teaching, I think I've learned also that there needs to be much more sort of two-way communication. It's not just delivering answers. It's looking for answers together. I don't claim to know them. I just tell them about my own experience, what I've learned from other colleagues. You know, the other day I was watching her, more air, more tongue. Yeah, that's what Sarah says. That's what I do. She's a little place. She knows when playing the bagatelle, what's it about, or whatever it was. No, it was a sonata by Vigneri. More tongue and more air. That was it. So
I don't think I don't remember learning about all the low horn stuff. I remember just picking it up along the way, and then while teaching, people want to know, and then playing it and thinking, okay, how do I do it? What do I do it? I find teaching really makes you much more aware of what you do yourself.
Yes, and maybe in the beginning I remember that you have to trust and believe the things that you tell your own students, so maybe you do it more consciously, more deliberately. Although our aim would be to do it in a way where you know, this famous, what do you call it, flow or something, where you're just into the music part of it, and you're not aware of the process, you're just in it.
that's when the best music happens. Everybody says that's when your best performance comes. Is when you're in there and you're not thinking about anything, split notes, tongue.
Ideally, yes, but there are many nights when we struggle because of many different reasons, and that's where technique comes in. You know, have to know how to help yourself and to sound
can
decent
you tell us
on
how
a
you
bad
do
note.
help yourself?
Just you know, if you have time to warm up, you know where you stand. Unfortunately, with more experience, you get more realistic, so you get the picture. Today I feel awful. And
I can
still
smell it when you wake up in the morning and you think, today's going to be
Put the
struggle.
mouthpiece and you say, oh, this feels terrible. But then you just give yourself more time. And of course, maybe positive experiences, you know. I know that I've played okay, even when I felt terrible. So the more that kind of experience you have, then you can sort of pull yourself by the hair out of the trouble. And believing that you can do it. So and like Fröydis Revekre, so inspiring. I've learned so much from her. Also, courage, you know, courage and deciding to do things before because you know it's going to be scary in a couple of places and so on, and making a courageous decision at that time and knowing you're going to go that way. And
even if you're feeling it's not.
Well,
not
then
like
there's calibrating, knowing where you stand and going which way.
There's a nice question. Richard Ilomaki says, do you have any advice for returning seniors? And I love this on the Horn Hangouts because I get lots of letters from people that have discovered the horn again and have maybe played it in their youth. And then realize what a great community the horn community, and they started practicing again. So, any advice for returning seniors?
Well, we have a festival in Switzerland coming up, the International Horn Festival in Sarnen, which is close to Lucerne. And the nice thing about that is that it's a mix of amateurs and young players, students and professionals. It's wonderful. And there I see people who haven't lost the joy. So I would stress that the joy is maybe the most important thing. Of course, it's more fun, like you were telling the other day, to practice together. So if you can get with other colleagues and play quartets, it's more fun, it's less tiring and so on, you get in shape. But maybe as regular as possible or as time allows you, But I think I've listened to sometimes my colleagues in chamber music groups, but also in orchestras, how professionals warm up, and they come back to the simplest of exercises. So it's not, it shouldn't be never too easy, because if you play a pure, nice long note, that's,
Can I ask you something about that? That's something I was on my list to ask you. I just say play together, play as much as possible. It's always better, the minute you discover as a little horn student that you can play a duet with somebody else, it's just fantastic. But one thing I don't really enjoy is group warm-ups. And that's something that you do. You do use them.
I
find them very difficult to coordinate or also to be part of.
Yes. It has its limits, of course, because we're all different and we don't feel, maybe it's selfish on my part because I need that time also for myself. So but I still believe that there is something to gain from it, because that's another possibility. And I have tons of books, because maybe we were deprived and we didn't have so many, pieces of material when I was studying. So I got everything I could, and I keep buying new material, and then we go through different things. So we kind of practice together. But on the more complicated things, everybody gets a shot, and then you learn from each other. And when we have to work on intonation, I
remember sitting like a scared rabbit in the row of a group warm up, and knowing I had to go da da da, and he was in, and it was me, and I just went. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
You have to
but
be
also
quite
learning,
mentally.
but learning that we're doing things together, because we will be working together later on. So there are limits, and then some days I just allow them to lead the warm up and do their thing, so that it's fair. But
that was just a question. I was just interested in that.
Yeah, I don't want to oppose on that,
No,
but I think it's okay, because I remember how inspiring it was to play with my teachers, whether it was chamber music or something like that. So I believe there's something to be gained. And I remember how inspiring I played some chamber music with Hermann Baumann, and to hear him just next to me immediately articulating so beautifully and everything. That was fantastic. Or Eric was giving us a lesson or something. It's so inspiring to have them live next to you. So
that's where you learn. And I would just also really recommend, it's not my hangout, it's your hangout, but I can't say it more often, if you can go and listen to orchestras live, go and listen to great players live. Every time you're in people here in the Philharmonie, let us know, come and listen to a rehearsal. Stuff like
You can't
in
beat a
every
live
rehearsal, and you
experience.
just can't beat it.
Mhm.
YouTube, Horn Hangouts, they're all great, but you can't beat a live experience,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
where you learn the most.
That's right.
That's what we're
right.
doing all this for.
Live music, but that's going to
Yeah.
survive even if recording.
Radovan, a very interesting question just came in, and
Yes.
I'm glad it did, because it leads us on to our next segment.
Okay.
Jess Armstrong has asked, hi Sarah and Radovan, what are some of the things you do, Radovan, to keep mentally fit? Some things to keep yourself focused or come back from a bad experience. Now, before we even go to answer that, you are one of the luckiest men in the world.
Yes, I am.
Because you are married to Dinka.
Yes.
And I fell totally in love with your wife in a proper way. When she came in on the Horn Hangouts, she's done 2 live Horn Hangouts. And she's how would you describe it? She's a performance coach, a life coach, performance coach. And I worked with her then myself, without being live online, on Skype, and learned an awful lot from her. And that's why I think you're one of the luckiest guys in the world, because you have all her knowledge at your... Has she been a huge help for you?
Yes, she has, but in many different ways. Support in every possible way, helping me with concerts, and of course taking care of the family, because I was so much on tour. So
all your children.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, in many, many different
Yeah.
ways, yes.
But I'm really happy to say, you guys, we are not only, it's just not 2 of us today, I promised you a special appearance, and Dinka is waiting here, and we just had to get her on camera to talk about some of this stuff too. Would you come and join us? Huge round of applause wherever you are sitting and watching this for Dinka. Welcome.
Thank you for
Welcome.
Thank you for having us both here.
Everybody's out there. Everyone has to adjust their cameras. There you are. Look, you're making an entrance. So, if any of you just don't happen to know about Dinka, would we call you that a performance coach, a life coach?
Yeah, I call it mental coach or mental training, because I want to really, put an accent on this mental preparation.
And did you practice on him?
Well, I learned a lot from him.
What not to do.
I know, we don't want to end too many secrets here, but we would like a couple of secrets here.
Okay. Yeah, I learned a lot from Radovan, seeing how he's doing it, and also asking thousands of questions. How and why?
I'm sorry.
Tell me.
Timothy Jones has written in, tell Radovan if he dyes his hair, I'll dye mine. Greetings from Vienna, Bruckner for tonight.
Hello, Tim. Good luck. Enjoy.
Hello, Tim. Radovan hopes you split every entry.
No. Dear
I'm
friend,
sorry. I
dear
just.
friend.
Okay, so I want to see that, the 2 of you getting on the hair dye. I do apologize. I do apologize, Dinka, but that was too good to too good to miss out. So. Back to the performance, because we don't dye our hair, do we?
Nope.
No. All natural. Mental coach.
Yeah.
Practicing on Radovan or not? Or you learned? Did you decide that's what you were trained already, though? I mean, you.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
But not especially for musicians.
Not especially for musicians. I'm trained as a psychotherapist, and I learned a lot from sports psychologists. And from the sports mental trainers, I learned a lot from them, because I think it's very similar. The strain and demands of the job, and focusing, concentrating. It's also physical. So I actually learned a lot from them, because when I started, there was not so many mental trainers specialized for musicians.
There weren't, were there? At college, I remember having.
There were some
huge
books
troubles,
which are
but
always mentioned
books,
again and
yeah.
again, but
But now it's normal to have.
now it's present also in the
Much
whole
more,
schulings,
although I think it's still a lack of practitioners, so to say. There's a lot of research in the meantime, a lot of theory, so to say, but not very many practitioners who really work directly, especially with the students. I love to work with the students, because I think when they start properly,
Get them young.
Yeah, really. When they start properly, it's much easier to learn good habits from the beginning, and not to correct the things when it gets rough, so to say.
Yeah.
So I think it would be wonderful that young students have this help at the beginning.
Somebody just asked, could you tell us where you're teaching? I mean, you teach, I can't even
I
remember
teach
how many
in
there
Salzburg, where we live, at the
Yeah.
Mozarteum there. I also
Kleine
teach in
Sophia?
Zurich.
At
Yes,
Zurich as
yeah,
well?
at the Hochschule der Künste there, and I also go to
Applications
to
have
Madrid.
just
Yes,
zoomed.
yes.
How I know you want to be loyal to your students, but everybody knows, all the students and even all professional horn players, just because we play in the Berlin Phil doesn't mean it scares us. It doesn't scare us. But do you find that this is something that students are more open to working on now? Because I don't remember anyone working on anything like that ever when I was studying.
Yeah. We do mention the importance of that, and that's one of the segments that we have to dedicate some time with. But I've learned from Dinka's lectures, because she does lectures for everyone. Then if it's a bigger group, she works workshops for smaller groups, and then she works also individually, so whatever the needs. But like you said, some people are so natural that you just leave them where they are because they know how to deal with it. Some understand the importance of it, but have their own strategy. And then when it comes to those people who struggle, maybe, then they need the tools, the skills, the knowledge, which will help them keep things in check and perform their best. Because we all have potential and talent, and then we just feel that we're not maybe always able to give it all because of different things that disturb us. So it's working on that, lessening that disturbance and just fully perform.
How are these people grown, the ones that don't seem that you let be because they seem to be strong enough? How
It's difficult to say. I think it's really it's a character. It's also a lot of upbringing from home. Some are really lucky to have supporting parents and supporting teachers, and then somehow they just bloom, so to say. And it's really important to know how damaging it could be. Teachers, parents.
Actually, you need to do workshops for teachers and parents.
You do that.
I do that.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
Okay.
With teachers,
Not for
especially,
parents. I didn't reach the parents, but for teachers. Yeah, for teachers in the music schools, I do a lot, and I feel that this is really a very important part of my work. I really do. So so this is one thing why somebody, as you say, why somebody feels more strong.
What sort of a person is Radovan?
Oh, he is very stable. Otherwise, he wouldn't cope with me.
Stubborn.
Stubborn or stable?
Both. Both of that. So one thing also important is that what I realized, the musicians, they start very young, and they are very disciplined, and it's. On one hand, it's great, of course, because it brings them far. But with this discipline, they also learn how to ignore the signals of the body, signals of their exhaustion and everything. They just keep on doing, keep on doing. They use they use their strength. They use this discipline that they learned very early on. And this is where I struggle, to say, come on, it's about you and your health. It's not only about success and the next performance. It's about really your life and your health. And this is my work, so to say.
And if I may add, those things that worked when you're age 10 don't work when you're age 20 or 30 or 40. Yeah,
so how do you adapt? How do you change what is it you have to change? The amount of time someone works on it?
The one important thing I always say, if you only start to think and to realize, to notice what's going on, not to ignore the signals, not to ignore the signals of being tired, being exhausted.
I'm hearing all the Skype sessions now. Again. When I hear your voice, I'm like, oh yeah, I heard this before.
You heard that.
How much have I been? How much of that have I been actually doing?
Yeah, it's really and there are not so many techniques or tricks. The first and the most important is really to notice your body, to notice yourself, just to be there and to say, okay, here I am. That's how I feel. that's already helping. Because what we do, we are either analyzing what happened, or we are planning tomorrow and the next season, and we are not, here realizing how we feel.
It's like horn players and our chops. A viola player once said to me, "You horn players, you are never feeling good in the moment. You're either tired from what you played before, or you're saving yourself from what's coming up. But you never feel good on the day." And he's right.
and that's it. Yeah. That's really it. So I think that's the first trick, so to say, is really stop, make a break, notice how you feel. Where does it hurt, and what can I do about it, and things like that.
Do you sense these warning signs? Is that
something I think you can try and be forgiving to yourself. How would you advise a good friend if they're feeling low, down for whatever reason? You would pat them on the back, give advice or listen to their story. So you learn to be a little more forgiving with yourself, and then. I follow the things that I follow Dinka's advice about is just try to move then. So I phoned home after a long day of teaching, so now I'm listening to my coach and I'm moving and doing a walk or something like that.
Oh, you mean sport moving?
Yeah, well, not very sporty, but at least moving, yeah. So, like you said, little changes can go a long way. Yeah.
Has it ever been something you've really suffered with, being nervous, or have you been lucky enough to have a stable enough upbringing,
I've noticed that nerves have gone up and down for probably different reasons. Sometimes I didn't understand it, sometimes I know why, because lack of preparation, difficulty of the piece, and so on. But now I'm just starting to accept sometimes when I'm not nervous, because I would get worried about that. So if I'm not nervous, okay, enjoy it, and I don't get worried about that.
Not feeling nervous. How nice. Everyone's sighing right now. I was very, very, very happy about it. Cindy Henderson-Dean said, what kind of things do you talk to teachers and parents about? I think you just answered that really well. Have you read Fergus's book? It touches on a lot of things that you are talking about.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
I will give you a copy about
it.
But basically what I wanted to get you two together. It's fun because we're going to have a lovely cup of tea afterwards anyway. But just to talk about studying today, about all these different things that are available for students, because as you say, it's so much easier to deal with when you're younger. So that there's just a lot out there. People like yourself, 2 fantastic horn hangouts with you. We had so much fun, didn't we?
Thank you. Yes, we did.
But also, what about the professional who finds that they've turned a corner and then it's maybe suddenly not as easy as it was, or things get scarier than they were? I guess as a soloist, maybe you could just cancel.
No, I never did cancel. No, that's an option. That's not an option for different reasons. But I think with some students, I do remember that after having maybe participated in some fantastic youth orchestra projects, it is a little bit of a disappointment to go into an everyday routine with the orchestra, and it's not always a highlight, and it's not always a triumph in every major European city. So that's when the routine comes in. But it's a fantastic opportunity to learn on the job. And I would have never wanted to miss my time in the orchestra. I stayed 8.5 years in the orchestra and learned so much. So I think, learning and allowing yourself time for different experiences, whether it's chamber music, orchestra, solo, learning from others. There's a time for everything. And
do you find orchestral and solo, chamber music and solo playing, and not easier is not the word for it, but you prefer doing that to playing in an orchestra?
There was a decision made which I took a long time to take, but again with Dinka's support I finally did decide. It took me about 3 or 4 years to make a decision to leave the orchestra. It was maybe more the freedom of choosing the project that I wanted to do, rather than somebody deciding for me this is going to be the program of the season, and I have less input and influence on that. So that's been good, but it's a fantastic experience to play in the orchestra.
But it wasn't something that made you more nervous than standing.
It's just different. It's just different. I remember I was reading these books that you mentioned on mental practice, because I think I would play a Bruckner symphony one day, and then I would have to step out and, you know, these 10 or 15 meters and play a Mozart concerto. And why did that feel more difficult? Maybe it's technically not really more demanding, it's just different. So I think when you have to grow into that role, it's again about mental approach, and that was a process. It took some time, and it's not easier or more difficult, it's just different. And if that's the road you choose, then enjoy it, learn about it, and do as much as you can. Yeah.
Do you meet people along the way and you think, okay, he's more suited to doing that, she shouldn't ever be a soloist? Do you feel everybody has a chance to?
I think it's personality for sure. I personally, I play the violin. I would, even if I would be the best in the world, I would prefer to play in the orchestra. I love the sound, the playing with a group, and
Julie Landsman says hi.
Hi,
Julie.
Yeah. So I think it's the type of personality, and I think it's not less or more demanding. Actually, it's where do you enjoy making music the best? You know, where do you feel actually the best? So.
But there are some people who would like to maybe play solo concertos, but are too scared or too worried about it.
I don't know if you remember, as a violinist, we talked about Misha Rabi, the violinist, who was scared to death on the stage. So he used to play behind the orchestra and behind the piano. And he used to play even turned with his back to the audience. Yeah. And
but he would still play.
And he played, and I read one interview with him, and he said, yeah, I don't like it, I'm scared, I'm sick after it and before it, but the music is so important, and I want to share it. And that was his motivation, you know, to do it, although he really felt sick doing it. But he said the music is so important, I have to share it. I have to say something.
That's the ultimate goal, I think, for all of us musicians.
But it's maybe also nice to say that being nervous is not only normal, but it shows a certain sensitivity. Without we couldn't be good musicians. So of course it's not a totally natural situation to play for I don't know how many thousand people. So if you get nervous, that's expected. That's part of it. Yeah.
On a good day, I can feel like, oh, I'm just so happy to share my love of music.
There you go.
And just share. That's a good day, you know. And when that works, it's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, there are other days where you just think, don't look at me, don't
or
listen.
as you say, the love of music should be greater than the fear.
Yeah.
And your passion and love of the instrument and the music, that should prevail. And there, you have to convince yourself again and again and again. That's why we do it. Yeah.
Amen. I absolutely agree.
Dinka's words, not mine.
So Dinka, tell us how can people work with you? How can they attend your master classes? Horn players usually know where Radovan is going to be. Oh, someone's running. Oh, what was that? Right. Someone's running. Oh, the promotion material is about to come in.
Yeah, we will be together in Rostock here end of August, so that's an opportunity.
Chris, we're getting in there? In Rostock, you'll both be there together?
Yes.
Okay, tell us, what are you planning on doing?
Yeah, well, mental training and lectures, and for horn players, I work on this Norddeutsche Horn Tage.
Yes, you just did that.
I will work in Sarnen as well.
In Sarnen, that's another festival towards the end of May.
Do you think, the horn players are really after you of this world?
Not only.
That's great.
Singers also.
Singers as well.
Singers a lot. Yeah, singers a lot.
Do you find similarities working with horn players and singers?
Singers are more disciplined. Sorry to say that.
What do you guys think? Do you agree? Are singers more disciplined? Okay.
Sorry to say that. Yeah, singers. Well, on my experience, the singers and the piano players, when you tell them to do something, they do it. You know.
What about horn players when you tell them to do something?
They would love to change something, but they, not so easy to persuade to do something, so to say.
They process the information, then decide.
They process the information.
That's a very nice way of putting it. You mean they ignore it? Interesting. Okay. Oh, good. Well, but you are very involved in, what's all this? What's this one?
This is the festival
So
in
that's Sarna.
Switzerland, yes. Yeah.
Nice lineup. Radovan Vlatković, Lukas, Florian, Stefan, Dinka. Lovely.
That's
I think it's fantastic that people are doing that these days, you know?
Me
because
too, yeah.
this is not something that we all... The thing is, I mean, Dinka has some hard exercises you have to do, and you really have to do them. And I know from first hand, you think, oh, I don't want to... Come on. I don't want to sit still and think about how I'm feeling today. You know, I just want to do stuff. But,
yes, but I told you, it's if I ever write the book, the title will be 5 minutes, but every day. Yeah. So it's about really few minutes, and not like, you know, I really try to make people think more about it and be more just,
aware.
More aware.
I mean, we practice the horn every day, almost every day, so why shouldn't we do this mental training every day, actually?
That's right.
Says one who's been through the course. Yeah, well, as soon as the cameras are off, we'll talk some more. So people are asking for the link of the Horn Hangout Facebook page for the course in Rostock. So we'll put that up for you. Don't worry. Your love of music should be greater than your fear. People are loving that. Dylan just repeated that because it's so wonderful. Radovan, are you visiting the Royal Academy in London next year?
Yes, we're having a chamber music project there, so I look forward to meeting the students.
I from Zagreb, I from Argentina. I mean, really, this we love it. You know, it's just a wonderful feeling of feeling connected for an hour. And I know, we can't go on forever. I can see all my streaming team going around. How do you think, guys? How are we doing? We getting towards the end? Because I have a little surprise at the end here. Do let us know where you're watching from if you haven't done already. We're so happy that you're all there and watching. And I'm just thrilled to be having an afternoon with the family Vlatković. There's something I have a present for you two guys too as well.
Oh!
Hey! Wow. George, our resident, I think we're going to fit.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A big one.
So, well, it might be too big. That was Eric's size. We might take you down a size.
Yes, we're in the same club. Yes.
Good. That's going to fit, I think.
Great.
Perfectly. We'll try them later. But there is something else that I'd like to do today. You can watch yourself on the Horn Hangout.
Okay, thank you.
It's actually our birthday.
Yay.
It's our birthday. The Horn Hangouts started 5 years ago with Radovan, and it's not exactly to the day 5 years, but I just wanted... Oh, that's going to collapse. Well, that's supposed to stand up there. There we go. Here we go. I thought any excuse to have tea and cake, and so I brought a birthday cake that I hope we're going to light the candles
together.
And Radovan's going to blow them out.
5 years of
5 years of Hangouts. We've come a long way. We're live on Facebook, which is absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? It's okay, we can turn that off now.
No way back.
Are you guys going to celebrate with us? There we go. Oh, there we go. No way back. It's a good... There we go. Are we going to sing happy birthday? No. Well, it's been, 5 years, I still can't believe it. I'm so grateful, of course, to Tim Kelly, handsome Tim, who set this all up with me. Jakob van Bernstorff, who's sitting behind, sweating behind the video editing. He's been on everyone as well. And I just couldn't do without you guys, George and Chris. And I would just say...
Let's do it together.
Yeah. Let's make a wish.
Make a wish for...
Make a wish for
all the horn players and music.
And for... Yeah. Here we go.
There we go.
Nice. Happy birthday, Horn Hangouts. We are going to have some cake and some tea. And you guys, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Pleasure,
you.
as always.
And so happy that the Facebook stream worked. We'll have a live. We'll have an archive of this up on our website, on our webpage as soon as the hackers are thrown out. We're not quite sure what was going on there, but it'll all be worked out. Technology these days,
amazing.
Just never know these things.
So,
thank you, Radovan. How do you say thank you in your
where
you come from? How do I say?
Hvala. Hvala.
Hvala.
Hvala.
Hvala. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, to you. All the best to you for the next live Horn Hangout, which will be coming your way very soon. Yay. Thanks, guys. Hooray!
Great.